vanachari Yamunatira vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Vrajachana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vrajachana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vrajachana Ranjana Yamunatira vanachari Yamunatira vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Premanandi Rishi Prahlad Lakshmi Nishingadev Ki. Paul. So today, gonna do it in English or in German? Brian? Okay, so I do it in English. No, anyway, it's I prefer in English because that's the language I study in anyway. So today we're reading from the sacred Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 2, text 22. Chapter 2 is a summary of the Bhagavad-gītā, and we're gonna sing call and response for the verse. Yeah. Ongoing process. Okay, I'm already gonna sing it once. Vasam sijena niyata vihaya navani krinati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jyanani anyani samyati navani dehi. Okay, there it is. Okay. Vasam sijena niyata vihaya navani krinati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jinani anyani samyati navani dehi. Vasam sijena niyata vihaya navani krinati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jinani anyani samyati navani dehi. Navani krinati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jinani anyani samyati navani dehi. Vasam anyani samyati navani dehi. One of the ladies wants also. Ah, Madhu. When Madhu comes, all auspiciousness is there. Huh? Okay, no? Okay, then Vasamsi, garments. Jirnani, old and worn out. Yata, just as. Vihaya, giving up. Navani, new garments. Krihanati, does accept. Naraha, a man. Aparani, others. Tata, in the same way. Sharirani, bodies. Vihaya, giving up. Jirnani, old and useless. Anyani, different. Samyati, verily accepts. Navani, new sets. Dehi, the embodied. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Change of body by the atomic and individual soul is an accepted fact. Even the modern scientists who do not believe in the existence of the soul, but at the same time cannot explain the source of energy from the heart, have to accept continuous changes of body which appear from childhood to boyhood and from boyhood to youth, and again from youth to old age. From old age, the change is transferred to another body. This has already been explained in a previous verse, 2:13. Transference of the atomic soul to another body is made possible by the grace of the supersoul. The supersoul fulfills the desire of the atomic soul as one friend fulfills the desire of another. The Vedas, like the Mundaka Upanishad as well as the Shveteshvatara Upanishad, compare the soul and the supersoul to two friendly birds sitting on the same tree. One of the birds, the individual atomic soul, is eating the fruit of the tree, and the other bird, Krishna, is simply watching his friend. Of these two birds, although they are the same in quality, one is captivated by the fruits of the material tree, while the other is simply witnessing the activities of his friend. Krishna is the witnessing bird, and Arjuna is the eating bird. Although they are friends, one is still the master and the other is the servant. Forgetfulness of this relationship by the atomic soul is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another or from one body to another. The jiva soul is struggling very hard on the tree of the material body, but as soon as he regrets to accept the other bird as the supreme master, as Arjuna agreed to do by voluntarily surrender unto Krishna for instruction, the subordinate bird immediately becomes free from all lamentations. Both the Mukunda Upanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad confirm this. Samane vrikshe purusho nimagno nishaya sochati muhya manaha yushtam yada pashyati anyam isham asya mahimanam iti vita shokaha. Although the two birds are on the same tree, the eating bird is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness as the enjoyer of the fruits of the tree. But if in some way or other he turns his face to his friend who is the Lord and knows his glories, at once the suffering bird becomes free from all anxieties. Arjuna has now turned his face towards his eternal friend Krishna and is understanding the Bhagavad-gītā from him, and thus hearing from Krishna, he can understand the supreme glories of the Lord and be free from lamentation. Arjuna is advised herewith by the Lord not to lament for the bodily change of his older grandfather and his teacher. He should rather be happy to kill their bodies in the righteous fight so that they may be cleansed at once of all reactions from various bodily activities. One who lays down his life on the sacrificial altar or on the proper battlefield is at once cleansed of bodily reactions and promoted to a higher status of life. So there was no cause for Arjuna's lamentation. Amakyanti Mirandasya Kyananjana Shalakaya Shakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so this verse is very, very interesting. Of course, in the second chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, the whole concept of the soul is explained. And a very interesting word that is being used here is sharirani. Sharira means body, and we have different bodies that cover the soul. And this is a concept that is explained by the Taittiriya Upanishad. And Prabhupada mentions it in Krishna book, in Bhagavatam in the 6th canto, and also in Bhagavad-gītā, the 5 different coverings of the soul. Anamoy, Pranamoy, Manamoy, Vijnanamoy, and Anandamoy. And Anandamay or Mai means covering or shell that is kind of like blocking the true nature of the soul to come forth. Now, before we go more into this, it's very interesting that Prabhupada talks about science here, because consciousness, which is the symptom of the soul, is that one thing that science cannot explain. It's called the hard problem of science, because you can explain the different brain activities that are going on. You can even, when you do a brain scan, tell from that scan what kind of activity, if it's related to some language. They even developed known artificial intelligence that just by scanning the brain can translate these signals into actual language with a 97% accuracy, so they say. But still, despite that, what is consciousness? And it's very easy to understand that consciousness is separate from our body and from our thoughts and emotions. It's very easy. Why? Because we can observe our thoughts and emotions. If we can observe them, then who is this observer? Who is that person that is able to zoom out from our existence and look at us, at the ego, at the mind? And this is one of the symptoms of the soul. And this is a very easy example to explain to someone that, you know, if you're different from your thoughts, if you can observe your thoughts, then who's the observer? If I ask you now, this is another argument, to think about Vrindavan, then probably or hopefully all of you get some image of Vrindavan, right? You might see some trees, some forest, hopefully not a lot of dirt and rubbish, which is also Vrindavan as it's manifested now on the earth. But this image, where does it exist? Is it something that anyone can ever translate? What I'm visualizing right now, can anyone see this? Maybe some of you are mystic yogis, so maybe you can, but no, you can't. Which level of existence is that? Where you visualize, where you dream, what sphere of existence is that? It cannot be this physical dimension. So science can't really explain that. When you ask them what is consciousness, well, there are different activities, neural links in the brain, and this and that, but they can't still explain what it actually is. They just describe it. Which is very interesting that we say that we know when the universe was created billions of years ago, yet we still can't explain what really consciousness is. And by how I was presenting this, it also becomes obvious that there are more levels of existence than just this physical dimension. This physical dimension is the dimension of Anamoy. It's a very tamasic dimension here. It's still Krishna's energy, by the way. This is all Krishna's energy. But because we look at it from from the perception of the ahankara, it is tamasic. It's like, you know, very solid matter. People that have a more developed or finer sense of consciousness, they can actually see that this matter is just moving energy. And even science will say that matter is just moving energy. But to us, it seems very solid, very, very, very real. But it is not. It's just that we look at it like that. So this first level of Anamoi, Sharira, that is mentioned here, the first, actually it's the last covering, one of the last coverings of the soul, but it's our survival body, made up of the 5 elements. We have ether. From ether comes which element? Anyone knows? Yeah. From air comes? Yes. Fire comes? And earth. So we have a natural progression of these 5 elements, and our body is made out of that. And that body, of course, on that Anamoi level, that consciousness is occupied with, Prabhupada calls it mating, defending, sleeping, and eating. Now, what is defending? Because sleeping, it's very clear what this is. Eating is very clear. And mating, it's also very clear. So, but defending, what does that exactly mean? What is defending? Okay, defending my territory. But why do I need to defend something? What needs to happen in order for me to feel the need that I need to defend it? Yeah? Oh, can you send me that reference? Yeah, maybe you write it down, because I was looking for that reference. Exactly. Fear, which means you don't feel safe. So on this first level of Anamoi, we are occupied with safety, that we're feeling safe. This is what an animal does. An animal is eating, sleeping, mating, and then when they're attacked, they're in a state of fear, and they run away or they fight. The 2 responses. So when our level is on this consciousness of existence, the Anamoi body, our consciousness is entirely absorbed in this. Do we get enough sleep? Do we get enough to eat? Is there some opportunity to engage in the activity of mating, and then to feel safe? Now, this is very, very significant, because we might say, okay, I'm beyond that. That's kindergarten, Bhagavad-gītā. No, because most of us on some level don't feel safe. And because we don't feel safe, because our body is not relaxed, we are very much occupied in, psychology calls it the fight-flight response. It's when someone comes to you and asks you for service, and you're like, instead, you're not calm, you're agitated. You see the temple commander, hey Brian, see a temple commander coming around, and your heart starts to beat. That means fight-flight response. That means, in one sense, it means tamagun. Okay? And then what happens? Your intelligence is starting to make plans. Okay, last time Brian came, and he asked me to clean up the pots, and it was late at night, so this time I need to find an excuse. What excuse do I have? Oh yeah, because I'm doing this course, I'm studying this course, so that's what I'm going to tell Brian. So now the intelligence is completely under the influence of what? Fear. Yes, but fear, fear, the mind. The mind is producing that fear. So, although it doesn't seem like it, many of us, we are very much on that level of Anamoi, because we are in this fight-flight response. Sometimes we might also get frustrated, agitated, angry when something doesn't go our way. Anyone has been angry in the past 7 days, agitated, stressed? Right, yeah, me too. So, it's that feeling of not being able to kind of like be safe and feel that natural connection to the Lord. So then this fight-flight response is coming out. Of course, anger is also a very natural human experience. It's part of our human experience. So it's not about pushing that emotion away, but it's about being aware of this fight-flight response that is going on all day. Now, how do we transcend that level of fight and flight? Well, first of all, we need to increase, there are various things that you can do, but first of all, we need to increase sattva gun. But sattva gun, in the sense of we need to find that space within us where we have peace. So, as devotees, we want to be peaceful in the sense of we want to have a certain inner radiance of peace and connectedness. And that means that comes through the Lord, obviously, but it comes through something else as well. There's something that we can do to really increase sattva in our life and kind of not get caught up in this fight-flight response of Anamoi. Any idea of what that could be? There's no right or wrong, by the way, I'm just playing.
Zoom out and watch the situation. What is going on?
Who is doing that? I mean, ultimately the soul, but what function of our psyche is able to do that? Buddhi, right, the intelligence. How do we strengthen our intelligence? How do we build up our intelligence? Studying scriptures, for example. There are other things as well. Studying scriptures is one of the most powerful words, but what else? Yeah, you can just, yeah. Yes, practice of detachment, okay. Hearing, yeah, hearing, studying, practice of detachment. There's something else that is, if that's not connected to all of these aspects, it's not very powerful. Regulation, yes, okay. But again, still, there's one thing that is missing that empowers this. Yes, but even that, there's the guru. Guru is the one that purifies our intelligence. So when we are not connected to our spiritual master, to our guru, our intelligence will deviate and make up a little bit our own kind of understanding of Krishna consciousness. This is actually what happens when we join our movement. We're not really practicing Krishna consciousness. We're practicing a projection of our own idea of Krishna consciousness. Does that make some sense? Like we have some concoction of what it means to be a pure devotee. And that's how we look at the world. And therefore, studying is so important. It's not to torture us, but by studying, especially Prabhupada's books, what Krishna consciousness really is becomes clear. Okay? Because studying doesn't mean to just read through, read a page, read another one, and go on. It means to really take one topic, like the modes of nature, and go as deep as you can, and as practical as you can, because you want Gyan to become Vigyan, realized knowledge. Okay, but this can only happen by the mercy of the Guru. If we are, as soon as we are disconnecting from that aspect, we're kind of left alone, because then our intelligence is under the influence of the false ego. We are not yet powerful enough to channel, to have our Atma, our soul, channel the intelligence. Where most of us are not on that stage. So if it's not directed by the Guru, it's directed by the Ahankara. And then all kinds of nonsense happens. Our own philosophies, we start to justify our own shortcomings, we misunderstand, and we ultimately don't advance. We can only advance in Krishna consciousness if we understand what we're actually doing. If we think Krishna consciousness is about shaving our hairs off, putting on some dhoti and some tilak, taking our bead bag in our hand and Hari Bol, then that's a very religious understanding of Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada wanted Krishna consciousness to be presented like a science. Science means you read this, that you are the soul and not the body, then you have an experiment, and then you have a certain result. So when you study this scripture, you want to also experience what you study. Otherwise this will just remain intellectual, contemplation. There are many devotees that knew so much. They were able, they were amazing scholars. Even now in India, there are amazing scholars that write about the rasa dance of Krishna in more sophisticated ways than most of us probably could ever do. But they still haven't realized one thing. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, 1854. When one is on the level of Brahman, when one is self-realized, then one can really understand this topic and practice Krishna consciousness. So that means that if our buddhi is not connected to our guru, if our buddhi is not connected to our Atma, it's connected from the false ego, and we're going to start deviating, have our own concoctions of what Krishna consciousness is, and we will stop progressing. How do you know if you are not practicing properly? There's one very clear indicator. Yes, that's basically it. Become frustrated, stressed, confused, very confused about what we should do. We get very, very agitated, which means we're stuck in the fight-flight response. Or we could also call it sankalpa and vikalpa. I accept this, I reject that. And it's driven all on emotions. Which kind of brings us to Pranamoy. I'm not going to talk so much about Pranamoy in our tradition, although Prabhupada speaks about Pranamoy as the 10 different types of pranas. It's also related to the different chakras, and it's related to the energetic body, which is very closely linked to our emotions. So emotions control basically everything in our life. Even if you think you're the most rational and logical person, you're just controlled by your emotions. Therefore, you can have two very logical people that have a huge argument with each other. Why? Because their logic is ultimately controlled by samskaras and vasanas, impressions and beliefs about their own identity. For example, an atheist might have this, had this experience in a past life where they were very disappointed and heard from God. Why is this suffering happening to me? So they started to reject this idea. So now they're driven by this emotion of maybe resentment or envy or fear. It's really the manamoy body, the body of emotions that really controls us. That really, even though we think we're very sattvic or very nice devotee, of course we're all nice devotees, but we are very sophisticated devotees. Ultimately, we are very much absorbed on these three stages. The stage of the body, the stage of kind of like, pranama also is related to relationships, to other people, and to our own mind. And only if we connect to our guru can we really break through. But how do we connect to our guru? How does one connect to the spiritual master? Yeah, we hear from him, but even if you hear from him, it doesn't need to have a big effect. Yeah, just follow his instructions, okay? Okay, yeah. So, but in order to do that, you need to develop one quality. Yeah? Yeah, humility, submissiveness. Now, what is humility then? Because if we want to get out from this fight or flight response, fear and anger and kind of like our own emotions, then we need to develop humility. But what is humility? Yes, but even then your guru can tell you, please give me some hot water, and you come back with some nice warm milk and sugar because you thought your guru, what he really wanted was some hot milk with some nice honey in it, okay? Instructions, I've seen this because of my profession of being a counselor and so on. I've seen that I told someone something, and I could literally see that that information didn't penetrate their consciousness. They said yes, but it didn't enter. So have you ever had this experience that you read Prabhupada's books and you've read it 5 times before, but then you read it, it's like, oh, that's amazing. Suddenly a realization comes. Ever had this experience? You read it before, but because your consciousness was too dull, too much tamas, it didn't penetrate the higher layers of Vijnanamoy, which is the 4th body of intelligence. Okay? But humility opens the doors for being able to follow the instructions of the guru. Because we all have instructions of our guru, and I hope most of us, we are trying to follow them, but that empowerment of following the instructions of the guru only comes through humility. And humility means that you, and this is very interesting, means that you have enough confidence to actually apply the instructions, but you're not in a state of pride to contaminate the instructions. Humility is not low self-esteem. Humility means that you have a heart connection to your spiritual master in Krishna. Humility means that you admit to yourself, you can see yourself for who you are. You can look at yourself and be honest with yourself about your strength and about your shortcomings. You can't do that when you have low self-esteem. If you think, I'm worthless, I'm a piece of, I don't want to say it, you don't see yourself for who you really are. That means you are not going to be able to offer all the qualities that you have in Krishna's service. If you think that you are the best, you can also not serve your spiritual master, because now you are blinded by arrogance. But humility is a quality of the intelligence where you're just able to look at yourself the way you are, where you actually understand why you do the things that you do. You know, Krishna consciousness, we need to understand, why did I get triggered last week from this devotee? Why do I get so stressed out when I do this particular service? Why do I become so competitive when I go out in book distribution? Why am I sometimes in a state of euphoria and enthusiasm, and other times I'm feeling depressed? We need to start to observe ourselves of what's going on and of why this is going on. Otherwise, how will you advance? Like, advancement happens gradually. That means you actually see you're progressing. Week by week or month by month, definitely year by year, you want to see, okay, there's a shift in consciousness. You know, it's not that you wake up one morning and suddenly you see Krishna in the spiritual world out of nowhere. It's like a gradual revelation, step by step. So humility also happens when we sincerely pray. But what are sincere prayers then again? You know, I can go here in front of the altar and pray and nothing happens. You know, have you ever experienced this? You go in front of the altar and you pray and suddenly you have a revelation or an idea or someone says something to you and you feel like, wow, prayers is a very real thing. And other times you stand there and there's nothing. Nothing happens. Why is that? I mean, one reason is attachment. Because you pray maybe to be free from lust, but at the same time you are attached to it. You pray to not overeat, but at the same time a part of you really wants to overeat. So what is Krishna going to do then? But Krishna reciprocates with prayers that come from the heart. But what is the heart? It's an organ that is pumping blood. What else is the heart? What is it? Don't we say this a lot? Doesn't even Prabhupada write about this? Chant from the heart, pray from the heart, serve from the heart. But what does that mean? Seed of the soul. The seed of the soul. Well, what is that seed? What is it? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to poke you a little. Right, chitta is one level of the heart. Well, you can look at these different layers as different levels of the heart. You have the organ that is pumping blood. Without that organ, you die. You have the heart chakra that is distributing energy throughout your entire system, without which you can't live also. Where's the mind? It's also in the heart. Prabhupada writes, the mind is in the heart. Mahat Buddhi, the higher spiritual intelligence, Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's in the heart. Chitta, the purest state of consciousness in this material universe, is also in the heart. So it's all about the heart and bhakti. But entrance into this heart comes through manas, basically, through emotions. So when we pray, when we do our service, it needs to be connected to emotions, and not just any emotions, but sattvic emotions. I mean, you can serve Krishna in anger too, or in envy, or in fear, in awe and reverence. But especially when you serve Krishna with sattvic emotions, of course love, but love is very high and very deep. It's very misunderstood concept and word and reality, love. There's a sattvic emotion apart from humility that activates this humility. Yeah? Gratitude, yeah. Gratitude is not just a new age blah blah, slogan. Gratitude is the emotion that really opens the heart. Ask yourself, if you go in front of the Lord, for how many things you can be grateful for, genuinely. No, I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be with the devotees. I'm grateful for prasad. No. To the extent you feel gratitude, to that extent you're actually in touch with reality. I was talking 2 days ago to a person and asked them to feel grateful, and they didn't know what that even is or how to do that. Can you imagine? So gratitude, humility, sincerity, that's what really opens our heart to really receive this knowledge. To really, because, Prabhupada, let's look at the holy name. Prabhupada writes, the holy name, if one chants the holy name, one never gets tired. One never gets bored. It's ecstatic. So why don't we experience that when we're chanting? Are we not chanting the holy name? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentioned the holy name has to descend on us. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, like alphabets, like random words. Of course, there's a difference. The holy name is the holy name. So in whatever state you chant the holy name, there's benefit to it. But again, if you're not chanting at least on the level of Manamoy, there's no purification. What does that mean? Like, actually on Vijnanamoy, if you really want purification. Because mostly when we're chanting, we are thinking and chanting. That means we are chanting very much on the level of the mind. And there's very little purification. Now if we put some emotions in, the consciousness gets into a deeper state. Because now we're going from our neocortex that is constantly thinking and analyzing into a more meditative state. Just if I ask you now, feel what's in your heart. What are you going to do? Are you going to do this? No, you're going to naturally do like this if you're actually trying to feel. Your brain waves will slow down and your sattva gun will increase. The heart is manifestation of sattva gun. It's manifested in the heart. We sometimes say, Prabhu, you're so mental. Means you're very much in passion and tamas. It means your energy is very here. You know such people that come to you and you can literally see the thoughts going on in their mind. It's like, a very, very passionate state of mind. But sattva gun means you're very much connected to your heart. You're very much aware of what is in your heart. And it's the seed of the soul, like, Mataji just explained. So the soul is in the heart and it's covered by these different layers. And if we want to take these coverings, purify these coverings, we have to chant on the level of intelligence. What is chanting on the level of intelligence? How does that look like? Does it mean that I read while I chant at the same time? How does that work? What is chanting on the level of intelligence? Did I just make this up? Is it real? Okay, it's controlling the mind. Observing, exactly. So chanting on the level of intelligence means there is no mind in one sense. There's just the flow of the holy name. When we chant, therefore Prabhupada kept stressing, Prabhupada stressed two things when it came to chanting. One was to chant, he stressed many more things, but he stressed pronunciation, then that we are attentive. Because when we're really attentive, we will start to chant on the level of intelligence. But then also he stressed emotions. One should cry out like a child for its mother. So, kind of like being, able to zoom out and really chant the holy name and zoom out from our material and human identity, and then at the same time develop these higher sattvic emotions: humility, gratitude, forgiveness, tolerance, empathy, compassion. These are all sattvic emotions that we need to develop. I think one person here is looking for... Haribenu.
Hey, Hare Krishna. Some of the brahmacharis,
She wants to meet you. Okay, we'll continue now with the class. So basically, these sattvic emotions need to be developed for us in order to penetrate into the spirit and see spiritual emotions. Because what is the soul? Sat Chit Ananda. What does that mean again? Sat Chit Ananda. Tell me. Yeah. Sat means existence, eternal existence, just existence. Sat means awareness of that existence. I'm aware, I'm conscious. Yes, Chit. Anand, bliss, but what type of bliss? There are different types of bliss. There's the bliss of Brahman, there's the bliss of Paramatma, but Bhakti is a particular type of bliss of spiritual emotions. So we as devotees, we don't want to be in the happiness of just pure existence or, very common nowadays, nothingness, just voidness, nothing. It's a level of intelligence. It's a real state where you just moved beyond your mind. But it's a very risky state. Why? The state of Vijnanamoy is very risky because the soul's nature is to experience pleasure. So if we're not connecting to the pleasure of Anandamoy, we're connecting to the pleasure of Manamoy, of the mind, of the senses. So therefore, the cultivation of emotions, of positive, elevated emotions is very important in the practice of bhakti, because that's actually the true nature of the soul. And Prabhupada writes in Srimad Bhagavatam, the 6th canto, one has to go beyond these 5 coverings, even the covering of Anandamoy that Prabhupada describes as the Brahma Bhuta stage, liberated stage. We even need to go beyond that. You know how exalted that is? Those on the planet of Siddha Loka, they have a body that is just made of Anandamoy, pure Chitta, Lord Brahma. Completely pure, basically. But not pure in terms of like fully pure like the soul, but very pure existence. It's such an elevated state. Sometimes we speak about Lord Brahma. Oh, Lord Brahma, he got caught up in illusion with Krishna. It's part of a lila. Brahma is one of the Adi yogis, one of the original yogis that in his meditation, he heard the word tapa and then he meditated and then the entire spiritual world was revealed to him. The entire spiritual world. Krishna and his opulence was revealed to him. It's very exalted. So now as devotees, if we cultivate this inner state of the heart, the awareness of the heart, and we offer these emotions to the Lord and we pray sincerely from the heart, then things start to move very quickly in our spiritual life. But if we're not aware, if we are on standby, if it's just about how much worship, how much cooking, how many books, what type of position, then we are really getting distracted. And then actually Krishna consciousness will just maybe come in some years just like a religion, like Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, where the focus is more on identifying with the religion than identifying with truth. Identifying with dogma than identifying with truth. We have to watch out that we don't say, well, I chant 16 rounds, I follow 4x, Prabhupada will take care of the rest. It's a bit dangerous to think like that. It's important to have faith that ultimately only Prabhupada can deliver us. But to just think, I'll just put on some bad jeans, shave my head and chant and that's it. It's a very dangerous conception because that's when fanaticism comes into our movement. That's when people start to fight about what type of clothes to wear or how to understand Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada makes different statements at different times that sometimes seem to directly contradict each other. But for a pure devotee, they don't contradict. But for a mind that wants to rationalize everything and put everything in boxes, for such a mind, it's very difficult to understand a pure devotee. So therefore, we need to remain aware that it's about truth and about really receiving blessings and not becoming offensive. Yeah? If you don't want to become offensive, best you stay off Facebook. At least at the moment, there's a lot going on Facebook for devotees. It has become very very modern now to just go out there and spill out all of your frustrations that you ever experienced related to ISKCON and spiritual life. But let me tell you something about blessings. It's very interesting. Because blessings come naturally when we are in the right state of consciousness. They naturally come from the heart of a pure devotee. When we go, Maharaj, Prabhu, can you bless me? Yes, this is important. But we at the same time cannot force blessings to come upon us. We need to be in the right state of heart. If we're not humble and submissive, again, that doesn't mean like, oh, I'm not worthy of anything. Oh, I'm so fallen. Every devotee is better than me. I can't do anything. I'm not good at anything. Oh. That is victim mode. It's another thing we could talk about for 1 hour. Because fight and flight means I'm a victim. Victim of the temple commander, victim of the temple president, victim of the Sankirtan leader. I'm a victim of my life. Krishna doesn't understand me. The devotees don't understand me. Life is not fair. That state of consciousness is the consciousness of Anamoy. But blessings, coming back to blessings. I didn't tell many stories, so I'm sorry it was a bit philosophical, but try today. So on, which day was that? Was it Janmashtami? Yeah, Janmashtami. There was one devotee here, a very advanced devotee, and I wanted to get blessings from him for something. But at the same time, I was like, I didn't want to disturb and interrupt. So then at the same time, somehow I saw the opportunity that, maybe it was even you, someone brought a plate of prasadam into the room where Maharaj was kind of taking his prasad. So I saw the opportunity, so I just took the plate and went in and gave it to Maharaj. And I thought, okay, now or never. So then I asked for some blessings, and something told me just stay calm and just be here for a moment. So instead of dropping the plate and rushing out, I just stayed there. And then I was speaking to that devotee, and there was a little exchange. And then in that exchange, the devotee confirmed something to me that he possibly couldn't know. He said, yes, this is a very nice idea, and then you should do it like this and like that. And I was like, that was an idea that I had that he could not possibly have known, but he kind of confirmed something to me that I was doubtful about. I'm not sure if you're getting it, because I'm not going into details now, but my point is, because, I was in a state where I was open to receive, and I was in a state of understanding the need for blessings, some blessing came. But what I'm trying to point out here is that these blessings naturally come to us. They naturally come if we're open to receive them. In fact, they are happening constantly. But because for that moment, by some mercy, I was in the right state of consciousness, I was able to receive that blessing. If I would have been very passionate or tamasic, Maharaj could have made the same statement and it wouldn't have had a very transforming effect on my mind. I would have probably forgotten. Have you noticed it? You served your Guru Maharaj, he said something, and you might have even forgotten what he said. All the interactions we had with advanced devotees, do we really remember everything they said? So it's the state of consciousness that allows us to receive those blessings, because Krishna is blessing us all the time. He's talking to us all the time. But because we are in the state of I'm a victim, or I'm the best, or I'm the worst, or I don't know how I feel about this, we can't receive it. But if we are open, humble, and grateful, gratitude is so important. It's good to every day go in front of the Lord and tell Krishna what we are grateful for. Because if Krishna sees that we are grateful, then He can give us more. But if we're not recognizing everything He has given us now, how is He going to give us more? Oh, Krishna, I need this, I need that. And what about all the million things that I already did for you for thousands of lifetimes? How about thank you? Imagine you keep giving to a person and that person never once says thank you. You know, Krishna is a person with feelings, with emotions. You know, we are worshiping Krishna in a very personal form, not as some distant light or in the form of Mahavishnu that, you know, where we're in awe and reverence. We worship Krishna in a very personal form. In the form of Radha and Krishna. Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, the one that contains all Ananda, all spiritual pleasure, and Radha, the one that is the giver of that pleasure, of that spiritual happiness. So, if we want to open ourselves to these blessings, then we need to go beyond the conception of anamoy, where we're just in fight or flight response, or pranamoy, where we're just caught up, you know, in the relationships with other people, manamoy, even beyond our dharma, our, you know, dharma for the devotee. I'm a pujari, I'm a brahmachari, I'm, you know, beyond our identity. We need to get in a state of consciousness where we're open to receive, and we need to be greedy to receive blessings. Each time when we open Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada is present and interacting with us. Prabhupada is even present here. It's, you know, you don't need to be a Maha Bhagavan, you know, pure devotee to experience a connection with Krishna, to feel that Krishna is answering our prayers, to feel that Krishna is present in our heart. These things should be a daily common experience for a devotee. But they can only happen if we are in a humble, grateful, forgiving, tolerant, and compassionate state of mind. Is there any question? Maybe I should give 2 minutes for question. There was a lot of different things in this class today. But it's not, anyway. Okay, is there a question? Yeah, go on.
First of all, thank you for the lecture. Do you have a trick for good chanting? Because I always feel that I very fast come on the stage of Manamoy. And what I sometimes do is I try to do some tricks and say, not now, dear mind, but later, and all kind of that stuff. But sometimes I don't really have the taste, I have to say.
Yeah, so I remember the times when I had most taste for the holy name was when I was getting up very early, and I was really like, I was reading about the holy name, I was studying the holy name, I was really absorbed in the tattva of the holy name. So I was hearing classes about the holy name, and because of that inspiration, because of understanding how sacred that practice is, sometimes in spiritual life we actually look forward, like when we go to sleep, to chant the next morning. There are these moments, right, in spiritual life. I'm looking forward the next morning to get up, to, practice my spiritual life. So first it needs that inspiration. For me, that positive inspiration. And then secondly, if I Jai Nishingadev Bhagavan Ki. And then secondly, what was very helpful to me is to really make it, holy name, the earlier the go, the better it is. Because when you wake up from sleep, you're still somewhat in a meditative state of mind. You just come from the dream world. Your brain waves are not very active. And then if you chant, and you chant with emotion, because actually, you opened up a whole box of Pandora. Therefore, chanting from emotions is also so important. If you're just trying to control, at least from my perspective, just controlling the mind, it's sometimes you're kind of like, you're trying to solve the problem that created it in the first place. You're trying to conquer your mind with your mind. It's very difficult. But if you know, Krishna, I long for you. I long to connect for you. And also to be relaxed about it. You know, if we chant and then a thought comes, we're like, oh, you know, sometimes devotees chant like this like, you know, you look at it and you get like, oh my, ooh. You know, anyway, I don't want to judge anyone, but some Maharajas also made these comments that the holy name chanting is supposed to be a relaxed state of mind. Sattva means not tension. Tension is passion, you know. So we see sometimes elevated devotees, they're chanting and focusing with love and devotion, but we shouldn't confuse that with, you know, battling the mind for 2 hours and then feeling for Guru Puja like, my God, I need a rest now. I'm completely done with this, you know. We want to, I mean, I feel sometimes like that. I'm like, whew, done with it. You know when you chanted well, not because you were perfectly attentive all 16 rounds, but you feel like, let's chant another round. Let's chant a few more rounds because it's nice. So it's not so much about, you know, eradicating all thoughts from your practice, but directing them to Krishna. Krishna, this morning I'm struggling. Krishna, I can't even focus. Krishna, I really want to connect to you. So you use that instead of trying to be a Buddhist and just empty your mind. I'm not sure if that was helpful, but there's a lot to say about that. There are also different meditations. Yeah, okay. Is it okay if I answer one more question or not? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Just in relation to that, what kind of lectures did you listen? Where are they to be found? Just general lectures? Or?
Well, I mainly listen to Satchidananda Maharaj's lectures about the holy name, but also Bhakti-Vikyā Maharaj has some lectures on the holy name. It doesn't matter who you listen to. The point is, see, like, even in the spiritual world, there are different groups and different tastes and different mellows. The point is, you need to feel inspired. You know, even the holy name, what I'm sharing now, that's my, and you know, that is my approach to the holy name. That doesn't mean that this is the only way or the right way, but it's definitely a proper way of how to approach it. But there are many other ways as well. So, therefore, hearing, you know, also like spiritual life is not meant to be torture. Okay, let me sit down and hear about the holy name. You know, no, it's like, you know, something that inspires you, and also, you know. Yeah, okay, anyway, I keep it short now. Yeah? I knew that, therefore I didn't go on.
Yeah. What if we chant and it is kind of attentive but without any emotions? Then I feel that something is lacking, but that's maybe due to my passionate nature. But is that just sattva guna and I'm not accustomed to it?
We can't always have, you know, like, unless we're on the state of nishta, we will not have regular taste for the holy name. Sometimes we have taste, sometimes we don't have taste. But when we are on nishta, on the liberated state of Brahma, Bhuta, Prasannatma, if we're on this stage, then, you know, steadiness, genuine steadiness comes in. But, like, again, if we have a bad chanting day, it's okay. Like, you know, it's not about beating yourself up. It's about finding enthusiasm and positive inspiration and really doing your best to offer the holy name to the Lord. And if you're not feeling anything, if you're feeling nothing, then it means that your mind is blocking you from feeling uncomfortable emotions. Because nothingness is not a natural state of the soul. You know, we're not robots. So if you feel nothing when you want to feel, it means that your mind is trying to, you know, kind of like creating some empty space so you don't feel something that's uncomfortable from my experience. Because otherwise, sattva gun means you feel, you know, happiness. Raja gun also means you feel passion and ambition and, you know, it's actually some tamasic energy when we feel nothingness. Like nothingness in the sense of, you know, an uncomfortable nothingness, like not talking about peace. You know, sattva gun and tamagun can look very similar externally. A sattvic person and a tamasic person can both appear very peaceful and maybe slow moving, but one is in deep ignorance and might have just had some marijuana, and the other person is in a very deep state of meditation. So these two states can look sometimes similar externally. Okay? So, yeah?
One time the devotees, they asked Prabhupada what does he feel when he's chanting. He was thinking about it for a while. Oh, sorry. And then he was saying that he's just completely fearless when he's chanting.
Fearless.
And I like this very much because this is just the state, right, that you want to reach actually.
Yeah.
It's like the state of no fear. Everything is okay, you know. I don't have a problem with anything. Krishna is in control. It's fine. I surrender to Krishna's will.
But what Prabhupada is also saying is that he's beyond the modes of nature, in the sense that when Brahma heard the word, before Brahma did the tapasya in the creation of this universe, he went down the lotus. And then one of the descriptions is that he experienced fear caused by the chakra of the Lord, fear of material existence. So fear is actually the root emotion of material existence. It's like, so when Prabhupada says he feels fearless, in one sense he's saying, I'm experiencing Krishna. So it's beautiful. Fearlessness, yeah. Okay. So let's have Gora Arti, because it's Gora Arti time. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Please send me the quote.
Yeah, the fruit. Should be about in first canto actually.
Yeah,
First purpose.
that's nice.
You want to read Gaurati also?
No.